let's start with this, I'd say more fun topic, which is I guess I would title this, Are You Richer Than You Think? And what your rich ratio is. I think that we often in America, and I'm just thinking about some of the questions we've gotten over the last half a year, people will say, well, I don't have a whole lot, but I have this. And I think, wow, that's still a lot of money, particularly when you're looking at the Federal Reserve has a website that I guess they do it once a year, but they track, and you can go back in time and look at it where we are relatively recently of just median savings, median net worth, and average and median by age category. And those numbers are, they take into account a lot of people don't have any savings in America, and they're just living paycheck to paycheck. And they're not even thinking 401k, 403b, 457. So we also have to remember, and I think that the folks listening to this, we've never done a study on the net worth of the Americans who listen to financial podcasts, but I bet you it's pretty high because you're thinking about it. And you are, and if you're a younger person, if you're in your 20s listening to us today, I'd put good money on the fact that by the time you're 60, you're gonna have a lot of money. Because it's really about the longevity. It's the length of this journey we're on.
Get rich slow.
And the folks that ask questions in their 60s and they say, oh, I've only got 2 million, 3 million, 5 million. It's because they've been doing this for 30, 40 years. Meaning the sport of saving, if you will, and investing.
Oh, sport. I like it.
Maybe it's like it's a mild combat sport. It takes a lot over time, and it never gets super easy. Now, when you're rich, supposedly, maybe it does get a little bit easier. I saw a comedian the other day that somebody yelled from the audience, how much money are you? How rich are you? And he said, well, I have hundreds of money. was his answer. But he said, I think that it's that if I had more money, I would change my lifestyle and do something different. If I'm rich, that's not the case. And I'm a big believer of this. Money does bring happiness, but only up to a point, and then we get diminishing marginal returns. And there's all sorts of studies around this. The Woodrow, I think UCLA did one of the early studies that got a lot of traction. University of Pennsylvania has done lots of studies around wealth and money and happiness. And I've done many. And I think to me, it's abundantly clear that when we don't have a lot of money heading into retirement, our happiness levels are pretty low because we're nervous and we're scared about money. And we get to a point where we have some money. I see that happiness levels are kind of in more of a neutral zone. But once we get to $1 million, and it's still a lot, I get that. I've gotten pushback on both sides. I've heard Wes, back in my first book, the median happy retiree checkpoint was getting to 500,000. People would say, that's so much. That was 15 years ago. That's so much. I can't believe you have to get to that point. And then people have said, that's not nearly enough. So they're all personal. These numbers are personal to you and your spending. But I still see that ratio is that we want to get to at least $1 million in retirement assets saved, and the happiness levels rise at that point, and they rise a little bit more at an even higher category, but not tremendously. So I think of it as a plateau effect. We've got to get a certain amount, then more money doesn't really add to much more happiness. The question is, when do you feel rich? Joe Rogan said he didn't feel, and this guy makes, I don't know, it's $120 million a year, or his net worth is 100 plus million. I don't know what it is. Plenty of money. But he said the first time he felt rich is when he went out to a nice dinner and had zero guilt about what he spent on dinner. That's one way to look at it. It's all relative. I think of it as what I've written about over the years is your rich ratio, which is essentially your rich ratio is what you have coming in every month is your income. A lot goes into that, divided by what your need is. So if your rich ratio is over 1, you're rich. I mean, in most people's book, meaning that if you need $5,000 a month to do all the things you want to do and your investments and your Social Security, maybe a pension, are bringing in 6 comfortably, then you're over 1 and you're rich. You can do whatever you want to do. What's another $2,000 a month or $3,000? Is it going to change your life? It might not. So you're, by any stretch of the way I look at it, is that's a great rich ratio. Now, if you're bringing in $20,000 a month, you're half, pretty awesome. But if you need 25 to pay all your bills, then you're under 1. and you're not really that rich. You might have tons of money coming in, but you're running in a deficit, and that's an uncomfortable place to be too. So it's not about the amounts coming in and going out. It's about that ratio. And I think that, to me, is what makes the most sense. The other way to look at it is that, and I pulled some statistics around median income. The median income, household income in the United States is about $75,000. Household income. So this is two people working. Now, not every family, both people work, but there's two people working. That's the median income. In California, it's $111,000 per year. In Georgia, it's around $92,000. So those are just some of the median amounts in the United States. The other thing, you can think of it as some benchmark it this way. If you have 6 times your salary saved at age 50, you're way ahead of the game in America. Meaning that if you're making $100,000 a year and you're 50 and you have 6 times that or 600 saved, you are way ahead of the game. So a couple other signs that you're a little richer than you might think, or giving yourself credit for. Not living paycheck to paycheck. You're able to save. We talk about, you've got to put 15% in your 401k minimum, get your free match. We say that is that it's almost like a have to, but if you can do that, you're in pretty good shape.
Yes.
You're in really good shape. So and I think the other one is, so if you're able to invest, you're in a really good spot in America. A lot of people are not even able to do that. And then if you've got any sort of financial buffer, if you've got dry powder and you can look at your investments and say, I've got a year's worth of spending, even though we want 3 years, you're starting to build up a war chest of money that'll keep you relaxed and reduce the anxiety around not having enough. Still, no matter what asset category you're looking at, some people are still worried about running out. So I think that our listeners are probably better off than they might think, richer than you might think. But just ask yourself, when's a period of time where you feel like you have enough money? And I like Joe Rogan's answer. When I paid for dinner and I didn't feel any guilt about how much I spent. That's pretty cool.
That's awesome.